What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream. I am your Hollywood socialist host, Francesca Fiorentini. What's good? I hope you guys are okay. I hope we are hanging in there. We have T minus, I don't know, 50 hours? Like 48 hours. Future people, you've got a lot less to go. We've got 2 and change days from when this dirty diaper of a president will be taken out with the trash. And I cannot wait. He can definitely still start a war in that time. Believe you me, they will definitely try. Someone's getting nuked, okay? Let me just say that right now. Welcome, everybody, on YouTube and on Twitch. Sup? Make sure you are liking the stream, sharing the stream, subscribing. I hope you are subscribed at this point. God damn it, what do I have to do to earn your love? We have such a good show for you today. Miles Gray of the Daily Zeitgeist podcast is here. We're running down this insane week that has felt like, I don't know, just a regular old decade. Just there you go. There's my life this week. Also, Alexandra Rojas, the executive director of Justice Democrats, primarying and centrist Dems since 2017. She is here joining us later. We're going to talk to her about the priority for progressive candidates in the future, priorities for the squad, how to push back against the centrist sadness, as well as the far-right fascism. We're getting into it later on. And also, we're going to end this show with a little bit of a look at what we imagine the White House staff will have to do to sweep away this president and all the things that are probably going to happen and that they're going to have to do in the next 48 hours or in the next week or in this transition time, this transitory moment. I wanted to just take a moment to thank everybody for your tips. And also, thank you all for being patrons. Oh my God, we have almost 80 patrons. We are well on our way to our goal, I believe. We're cooking, we're grooving, and I am so thankful to everyone who's become a patron. You can be a patron at patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Thank you. And also, you can still tip the show TBR-live on Venmo, TBR live on Cash App. And I don't have my bat mitzvah music right now. I have another song, but I feel like it's not going to play. And I have to edit this podcast. And so I'm too lazy to dig the song up. But it's a really good song, but I didn't prep it for this moment. In fact, it's a song by the same person who does the intro music. It's a royalty-free song by this guy named Kevin MacLeod. He's dope. And now that I don't have it, I feel awful. But I just want to say, Patreon party without music. I want to thank everyone who's become part of the Franny Pack. My little Frantifa over here at $10 a month or more. Gary T, Mike H, James A, Miguel E, Patricia T, Chris M, Lauren G, Quazpwin, which I'm definitely not pronouncing right, Kevin B, Michael T, Abdul K, Lexi Duke, Marion Brian S, Osama H, Roman B, and the big tipper, Stephen W, Susan Zen B, Anna M, Oscar P, Juan V. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot. It really, really means a lot. So get on over to patreon.com/bitchuationroom. And until I find a bra company that wants to sponsor me, or E-Trade, which specializes in trading I'm relying on your support to support independent media, left media, comics, etc., etc., etc. All right, without further ado, let's get into the week and what I am personally bitching about. You guys chime in. What are you bitching about? Of course, I could go really light. I could go with I haven't really found the right routine for my nails yet. It's just like I'm just going without nail polish right now because everything just makes my nails so brittle. But I'm not going to do that. At some point, I will. But I am bitching about the lack of nuance around Joe Biden. The fact that we can't talk about Joe Biden without certain people being like, hey, stop criticizing Joe Biden. Hey, don't criticize Joe Biden. Or people were like, Joe Biden is trash. Joe Biden's disappointed me already. Like, he hasn't even assumed office. It's like, both of you need to shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. We just have to be more strategic and intellectually honest. This is my thing. Going forward, I hope to be intellectually honest with you all. If Biden does something good, I think we should, or a very slow clap or whatever we want to do. If Biden does something shitty, let's call that out as well, right? But the knee-jerkness around like, don't criticize him, he's better than the fascists. Like, obviously he's better than the fascists, but also like, let's not just be like, he's a neoliberal war hawk that's already declared war on Iran and China. Like, that's also not real. So for example, this week, right? Biden unveiled this $1.9 trillion COVID plan. He's got to obviously get it passed through Congress. But there's a lot of shit in there that we haven't seen in this entire year of now almost 400,000 deaths. This ridiculous moment that we're in, an absent federal government. And in it is things like expanding paid emergency sick leave for people who work at giant corporations, because Amazon and Walmart clearly can't do it on their own, but that is going to extend benefits to 106 million people. That's huge. More direct payments, like a stay on evictions, which is really, really crucial. Yes, there's $1,400 instead of $2,000, which we all know, plus the $600 adds up to $2,000. But still, I get that we're salty that it wasn't $2,000 out of the gate. But I will say that I think there are other things in the COVID package that will ameliorate and alleviate some of the hardest hit folks, the essential workers, the people who cannot work from home. So let us be a little more fair and full-throated, full-eyed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You know what I'm saying? Basically, let's read stuff before we fully come down on like, he's a corporate shill, that kind of stuff. Also, this is the transition of power. And apparently in the first 3 days of Biden's presidency, this according to a memo by Ron Klain, who's his chief of staff, they're going to do a whole bunch of stuff and reverse a whole bunch of stuff. So reversing the Muslim ban, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, extending pandemic relief, related limits on evictions, student payment loans, issuing a mask mandate for the love of God, and also trying to reunite children with their families, those who were separated at the border from their families. The last thing is that apparently in the first few days, he's going to be introducing a plan for legalization and status for 11 million undocumented immigrants. That's huge, right? Now, I'm not saying he's not already and going to be disappointing, all right? It's Joe Biden. We know he's going to be disappointing. In fact, the only idea that I ever had that a president couldn't be disappointing was when Bernie Sanders was running. And I was like, hey, maybe the empire isn't all that bad. And then you're like, oh, man. But so these are good things. Let's give credit where credit is due. Let's maintain our critiques. Let's push him, and let's make sure that the most corporate instincts are not followed by making sure there's massive pressure and people in Congress who are also getting behind that pressure. I think I'm making sense. That's right. Hell yeah, making sense. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And without let me just finally, I saw a point that I had written down. I just want to say that it is important as leftists to not get black-pilled into nihilism, all right? This is the difference, we hope, between us and the right wing. The right wing is the most cynical force in this nation, right? They are so cynical they would vote in Trump, right? Because they're like, fuck it, demagogue. Let's let the left not be nihilistic. We're mad at the oligarchy. We're mad at the corporations, obviously. But let us find, if you're mad at all of it, find one thing you're for. Find the campaign you're into. Find the one proposition you think is worth it. Find your happy place and try and, inflate that. Just fan those flames of the good stuff. Because the moment we get into nihilism, the moment we stop thinking about organizing, the moment we just sort of retreat into our little like internet fiefdoms where everyone's fucked up and nobody's good and everything every Democrat does is bad, like then we lose. Then we immediately lose because we set ourselves up for loss and failure. I'm going to shut up right now and bring in my guest for the hour. He is a comedian, podcaster, former political operative who has created award-winning content for YouTube, Playboy, and Condé Nast. Currently, he is the co-host of the Daily Zeitgeist podcast on iHeartRadio. I have been a guest. It's so good. He is so wonderful. Please welcome Mr. Miles Gray.
Oi, Joe Biden is a corporate shill, mate. I won't have it any other way, man. You seen it. You seen the cabinet pics, mate. West exec, really, bruv. Secretary of State, really, bruv. No, I do. I feel you. It's a wild time. The bar's so low that I'm crying too, looking at that stimmy package. I'm like, mask mandate, and I'm like, that's right. There was no bar even on the ground. This is a very interesting time. I was telling you before, like when we were kind of talking about this. I definitely have my criticisms of this man, of this administration, and I will continue to have them. But to your point, I do agree. Like, there's no point in going, obviously, without having the data in front of you to then begin critiquing. You can't just go into it saying, well, this is what it is, this, that, and the other, because there are some things I was genuinely surprised with. All that to say, you got to keep your eye on it, because my fear is that people are going to get so swept up in seeing somebody who understands what it means to hold office that we're completely sort of off balance after the last couple of years of just seeing an absolute tragedy, and not knowing like what is good, what's worth pushing against, what's still worth trying to burn some political capital for. And that's like the thing that, I'm holding back because, nothing started yet, but I'm curious to see where the wind blows for sure.
Absolutely, man. And especially because, you can't just, what's going to happen is that they're going to dangle, like Trump over our heads. Like, whoa, would you rather have that guy? And it's like, no. Right. But that doesn't mean we can't hope for better, even better. What I will say is I don't think anyone's going to be charmed by the sundowning late stage Joe Biden. So like Joe Biden 15 years ago, maybe I'll be like, oh man, he's smooth. He's going to lull us with
2008 even.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, okay.
Not that smooth anymore.
No.
Can't really replicate the smoothness, but hey, but yeah, we are at the point where we're like, oh my God, there's a dog in the White House. Like, oh.
Yeah. And it's a rescue dog. And it's like, what about like unhoused people? Let's shift the focus again. I know we're loving the rescue dog and everything else, but yeah, I mean, it's natural too, because on a certain level, we deserve to at least try and feel like, okay, my God, there's at least someone who isn't like their actual objective in office isn't just to destroy everything and look in and not give a fuck about anything. So on that level, I'm like, okay, well, now I can return to just normal existential dread rather than heightened.
Yeah. I'm excited for this kind of disappointment, Miles. Can I just say, like, I'm excited for Biden to disappoint me because it's a better disappointment. And I'm there for it. I will be there for it. I want to ask you, what are you bitching about this week? Oh. Beyond everything we're going to get into, is there anything that's gotten under your crawled up like a little sand crab into your shorts?
I have a absolutely inconsequential one that's based off of Netflix, and I have one that's based off of the political climate. Which one? Where do you want me to take this?
I think we need the Netflix.
Okay, Bridgerton. Okay, the whole show, and I can't get this out of my mind.
Okay.
The whole show has reduced what love is by the willingness of somebody to have no condom sex to completion without pulling out. And that's what we're being like, he loves her. And that's love. You know what I mean? It's all hinging on this. And I found myself watching like, I'm over leveraged in the will the Duke of Hastings shoot up the club market. Like I'm all in. I didn't know what was going on. And then it took a second for like I was looking at my partner, Her Majesty. I was like, what the fuck are we like we're waiting for this.
Isn't he okay? So I haven't seen it, but isn't he just kind of like a fuck boy of the 1800s?
I mean, it starts off that way, but look, we know this. Fuck boys have depth. There's a lot of depth, not in a good way, but no one's just born a fuck boy. You know, it's like a reverse. The layers of fuckery add on until you're a fully formed fuck boy, and then you got to peel them away and be like, oh right, you're a frightened boy who hates their dad, which is basically what his vibe is. But all that to say, it's a wonderful show because at least they take a spin on the monarchy in England and that people of color are participating in the culture. And I was like, okay, the queen is a light-skinned black woman. I like this all.
Do we ignore the fact that they are black? It's just like, okay, they, like African Americans can play these roles, or is it like slavery never happened?
No, it's not that. I believe it's that the king married this woman of color, which therefore instantly elevated the status of people of color.
So it was like just more accepted. It's like colonialism happened.
It happened. Look,
like,
it's England. You can't get past. We can't erase that part.
We brought culture to the world.
Could you imagine what a show looks like where they tried to pretend like it wasn't just a colonizing powerhouse, like where it's just like, and then we have all this stuff that just kind of ended up here. I don't know, that the Rosetta Stone. I think we just stumbled upon that. Huh.
After a few seasons of Downton, I definitely forget that we're just celebrating oligarchs. I'm like, oh my God, I love that dress and I want to drink whatever they're drinking.
Same with The Crown too.
That's same with what?
The Crown.
Oh,
when
God,
I'm like, oh, Margaret Thatcher, interesting. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. This whole show
really is a complicated figure.
Yeah. That's what these shows do to you.
I know they do. They really do. And we love it, I think, in a certain way. But then, pulling back and remembering that Joe Biden is a shoe and I am with the Leave campaign.
Plutocrat, mate. He's a plutocrat. Done and dusted, mate. It's don't even need to check the receipts, mate.
I love it. I hope we get a lot of our folks from the UK becoming patrons after those impressions.
Yeah, come on now.
Miles, let's get into this week. So much shit happened, and I'm sorry to say we're not going to talk about the shit that didn't happen from the Secret Service in Ivanka and Jared's many bathrooms. That was a very roundabout way of saying that I'm skipping that story. But this is the week where. All right, this was the week where, of course, more fallout from the idiot insurrection, the Confederacy of Dunces. This was the week where Trump was impeached again. And it was still not over getting a blowjob from an intern, which has really got to annoy him at this point. Like, it was helping to it was over helping to incite a riot and an insurrection from the far right white supremacist extremists, which is a very different white stain on democracy. 10 House Republicans joined with Democrats to impeach the president, including Representative Liz Cheney, daughter of, still very much alive Dick Cheney. And you're a piece of shit when the daughter of waterboarding, like the daughter boarding, yes, the daughter boarding is turning on you, right? Like she's like, I'm okay with toppling other people's governments, just not at home. Don't coup where you eat.
Right. Rule number one.
Rule number one.
Rule number one of this whole thing. I mean, her father, Darth Vader, taught her very well, I would say. But that's why I'm also like, I see you, Liz, because, they weren't about to let this party get taken over by this man. Like there's been too many decades of weird foreign policy and money being made off the party being run one way, that to take it to QAnon, just like rabid white supremacy with no concern for the military industrial complex, excuse you? No. I will
there better be
hijack
some
the party.
militarism attached to that. You better want a foreign war. Someone's got to make some money.
But that's why I could see her being like, with being like, look, daddy's Darth Vader. I'm coming out here saying, here's the line now. This is what the party needs to be. That like she's giving some people cover to try and find their spines, to try and, put this in the hands of another group of shady characters. But that was definitely like, okay, so she's making a move. She's definitely making a move out here.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me, I was just going to continue on because pressure is coming from corporate donors and Republican PACs like Americans for Prosperity, of the Koch brothers. And they're all like reevaluating their donations. And a lot of these Republicans are losing corporate donors like flies. And once again, just like Liz Cheney is a bad sign when she turns on you, like when Comcast and Walmart are showing more decency than Republican lawmakers, like, the party's really strayed from its core principle of keeping people poor.
Right.
It's like,
I mean, they make it rain on Nazis normally, and now they're like, is this? Well, now that people know, I mean, it used to just be like those people who were on Open Secrets and figuring out where money was going. Now it's like mainstream news. It's funny to watch these sort of like, performative gut checks that they're having. But I mean, what's the over under on, all of that working? Because like you're saying, you have to have a part like that is, again, it's not in their interest as a money making enterprise that's only looking at their ledgers at the end of the day and not like, humanity, or if they're treating people with compassion. So I'm curious what then they're like, oh God, I think we need to either create our own party and fund that with a bunch of like politicians, or get these people back on track to be like, we're turning off the spigot if you don't clean up. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. I mean, it's like I don't want to give credit to these fucking Republicans because again, we're saying this is all just mask off of the policies they've been pushing for so many years, and this is what happens. And this is my thing about it is, we know that like far right populism, which is ultimately just fascism, it's not actual populism, it's fake populism. All that shit actually does make corporations money. They love that stuff because they can pass their $1.9 trillion tax break for the ultra wealthy. Like, it all is good until, they're storming the Capitol.
Right.
Like, fuck. Like,
kind of where it all happens. I need that safe.
Exactly. That's where we're supposed to lobby. Where are we going to lobby if we can't go there? And so I'm of two minds of it because, for example, Bernie Sanders, like, he's an actual populist, like, and someone like him, someone like AOC, they're never going to be propped up by any moneyed interest because it doesn't actually, like, you're saying outlandish shit, but you're saying outlandish shit like we should tax billionaires, and they're like, no, like, don't put that on. So media companies, investments, like, there's so much money that Trump generated, and that's just not going to be there for, what I'm saying is that like right-wing fake populism makes a lot of people money, and so now they're trying to be like, oh, now we see where this fucking leads because it's obvious where it leads.
Right. Because it's even just the way, police treat demonstrators, protesters, like if you're there actually fired up on something that's going to legitimately threaten the power of this corporatocracy, oligarchy, what have you, then you're brutalized. They know.
Right.
But then when you're out there with your face paint on and like screaming all kinds of weird shit, they're like, no, this is fine. They don't know what the fuck is up. They have no idea how to liberate themselves because we got them on this show that they're loving right now. And the more they can go deeper down there, we don't want them to start linking up with the other poor people and start figuring out which way to direct their attention to, because then there's the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep it Q. Just real quick on the impeachment. So, of course, this means that it is going to the Senate for a trial. Mitch McConnell is saying that's probably going to happen not before Trump is gone. So there's going to be a Democratic, mostly Democratic and Republican evenly split Senate when this trial happens. And Mitch McConnell is saying that he might actually be like thinking about voting to convict Donald Trump, which is insane. That's a whole nother level of political calculation. And that there are maybe like a dozen or so Senate Republicans who are also willing to convict. They need 17 Republicans to vote for a 2/3 majority to convict Donald Trump. And of course, that would mean he could never hold office again, which for me is like, that behooves them so much. Like Mr. Ted Cruz, first of all, Ted Cruz is never going to vote against him, but he should, because he's going to get trounced if Trump ever ran again. He's going to lose once again to the man he consistently gets cucked by.
Yeah. And the man you let talk spicy about your wife, still, I can't, okay. All right, Ted, that's all we need to know. But yeah, even with like that McConnell quote, right? The first one I feel like was like the New York Times on like at the end of the week, and they were like, he's pleased. The first one was like that he's pleased or something, and that he did believe that the president committed impeachable offenses, but in true McConnell fashion, never actually saying what's what or what he's actually going to do, but just signaling. But yeah, that's true. If he goes and actually supports convicting the president or the ex-president, former president in a Senate trial, then it becomes entirely much more possible that it's just not like Lisa Murkowski and diarrhea spine Susan Collins to maybe like hop in and like vote for what's right. So we'll see. But then the other part of that too is like with McConnell, that used to be his shit. Like the party was his, and then Trump came in and he had to do all this other nonsense that he didn't like doing. And so I'm sure it's weird. His calculus is like, well, he definitely doesn't want this dude back in the party, so he can kind of go back to, running shit, at least from the Senate. And then also, hopefully that will bring the dollars back that we're talking about that have so much been like, even like, but let's be real, y'all were loving it when Trump was in office. So don't act like suddenly, he's out now. Okay, the money's back. It's like you can't. These things don't square.
It's this weird game of like, who is going to have the last laugh? It's like they're both hanging from the cliff, and like who's climbing up the other one to safety, and then who's like trying to like pry the fingers off the ledge. It's like they're just in this grand tussle. Of course, the people still getting fucked over and still being lied to consistently. But it is an interesting, again, in the realm of gross Republican like elite calculation, it'll be an interesting one to watch. Let's move on to the next story here. This was the week where the NRA went bankrupt. Yes, decades after declaring moral bankruptcy, the NRA finally declared itself in financial ruin. This was in the same, or a few months after a New York Attorney General sued the organization for using it as a personal piggy bank for the 30-year head Wayne LaPierre, who illegally diverted $64 million to pay for vacations to the Bahamas and personal shopping sprees. I guess when Wayne LaPierre says "from my cold dead hands," he means the company credit card. One of the many gifts LaPierre was enriched with was an 107-foot yacht named the Illusion, which is just such a perfect floating metaphor for the entire premise of the NRA. It's just getting rich off of the idea that liberals are taking your rights away.
Yeah, or brown people are going to get near your house.
Or brown people are going to get near your. Absolutely. You got to arm yourself against BLM. Come out in a peach shirt. Make sure you're wearing nice peach
hand
colors.
On your hip.
Hand on the hip. Hold the gun, the automatic rifle or whatever it was, like by the actual snout. I think they call it the snout of the rifle, Miles. I'm not sure if you're a gun enthusiast. I know a little bit about guns. It's a snout.
Okay, yes, the underbarrel, if you will. Sure. I love Miss McCloskey's form with that little revolver she had. Doing like, it looked like she was doing I'm a little teapot, but like with a gun in her hand. She's like, I'm gonna clap some protesters in my yard. It was, I don't know. That image will stick with me. But the NRA, pour one out for them. Into your mouth and drink it and then laugh. Because that shit ended so sad. Like, not sad, fuck them. But like, it was such a stupid clusterfuck of liars just hollowing their shit out. That's the thing. Like when you deal with something like the premise of the organization is already so toxic and an illusion in and of itself, since there's no substance, it'll rot pretty quickly. And knowing towards the end of like how LaPierre was like using the PR company to just like excuse all of his spending. Like, did you like that house he tried to buy in Dallas? That was like a French country estate that he then got a down payment from the NRA, like of 70 grand. And then this was all happening when Ollie North literally tried to overthrow the NRA from within. This is like everything was like so like Ollie North came out and was like, yo, look at the accounting of this company. I should be the head. And then it consumed him. It's wow.
I love just like the different villains that are vying for power. It's very like, if I ever wanted trial by combat, to use Giuliani's phrasing, like it would be for the head of the NRA. Like, who's going to be the next head? Like, I just want to like throw them in a big pit, MMA style. You know, they all got these like sort of, I just imagine like, you know, white flailing chest hairs and like cagey, skinny white man bodies, all just like
battle royale stuff. Like, but that movie Battle Royale, where like it's like maybe 3 things that we would recognize as weapons, and then other just weird items like a frying pan or like a pair of cooking chopsticks or like, you know, a fucking slipper.
Guns. Everything but
oh hell no. Come on. We not no, not for the head of the NRA. No, y'all ripping each other's fucking faces off. But yeah,
exactly. That whole here, I think would bite someone's face off for sure.
Yeah, they're just like, it's really something that this grift exists so vividly on the right, like this of like, we're going to find a sort of naivete of this group of people and just take the fact that because we are in a higher socioeconomic class and we wear suits all the time and, you know, we have nice shit, they'll think that whatever we say is legit. Because how do we get here unless, you know, we're not talking the truth? And then from there, just making it worse and worse and worse. And yeah, because by that point,
$30 million to the Trump campaign, $30 million in 2016, maybe more, most of it dark money. It was basically a shell company for Russian oligarchs to funnel money into the Trump campaign. How do you go bankrupt with that much money?
Anyway. I think in the beginning of 2019, they were spending like $100,000 a day on legal fees. So that's how. Pretty quickly. It's like, yo, we got a lot of lawsuits, man. I don't know what to say.
We got a lot of angry parents who are not interested in bulletproof backpacks for some reason.
Or having a math teacher carry a gun.
This is a perfect segue to, speaking of legal fees, our next story. This was the week where Rudy Giuliani reached his end as Trump is reportedly refusing to pay his legal fees, which are $20,000 a day, which is honestly like standard soul selling price. Like, I get that. Now, on the surface, that seems like a really cold move on Trump's part after everything Rudy Giuliani has done for him. But I think it makes sense because we also found out this week that Trump officials have been selling pardons to the highest bidder, which once again is not actually illegal, even though it should be. And Giuliani apparently told the formerly indicted CIA officer that the going price for his pardon was $2 million, which is roughly 100 days of legal work of Rudy Giuliani. So it's not really about the money, is it? It's about that pardon.
Yeah. That I'm just doing the math real quick, right? If he was doing 20, because this all happened because Trump's like, fuck out of here. He didn't steal the election for me. And he told me, he promised me 20,000 a day. I was like, fine. So if we're assuming the contract began on, let's say, called November 4th, 74 days of $20,000 a day, he's looking at $1,480,000 in unpaid legal fees. And for somebody who also Rudy Giuliani strategically claiming bankruptcy to get out of paying alimony and shit, he's probably sweating. But then what's the calculus here as well? Because on one hand, Trump gonna Trump, which means, he owes you money. Okay. Talk to every city in America, or even fucking people, citizens of the United States, who are probably like, yo, he actually owes me at least $300 for the stress. You look at this and I forgot where I was going with this. So even with this, he's not going to pay you. What does Trump think that Giuliani isn't going to stab him in the back? Because he also needs a pardon from Trump. And then if he stabs Trump in the back, he gets no part. So did Trump just pull the move where he was like, I told him 20K, but he needs the pardon? How did, somebody was thinking.
Look, he will do it for a pardon and a handle of whiskey. And he's like, I'm set.
Right.
Best mayor, America's mayor. That's just a lazy boy chair on a corner.
Yeah.
That's that is going to be Giuliani. Giuliani, oh God. If they resuscitate him with Dancing with the Stars.
No. He can't even, the man can barely walk. If he's out here two-stepping or some shit, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know.
It'll be like a parody. I feel like we're about to see in this post-Trump era a parody of themselves where like Giuliani will be dancing, but he'll like have a bunch of hair dye running down his face on purpose. You know, he'll be tucking in his shirt strategically. Like
the set is going to be Four Seasons total landscaping.
Yes. The whole thing will just be like grifting off the grift of the grift of the grift, just like meta satire money.
I don't put it past the people running these TV companies and studios and shit, because at a certain level they're like, well, I mean, I'm not really at there's no threat to me with creeping fascism, because I'm in a socioeconomic class where I could literally just leave if I wanted to. So I'll just exploit this for more ratings and views and not realize what I'm doing. But yeah, that's my it's gonna happen because everybody is stupid. And we have so many examples of people making these dumbass decisions, being like, that was such a bad decision on our part. We are so sorry about that. Oh, boy.
But they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
What I would like to see, though, Miles, and I don't want to resuscitate Trump or fascism, but I would love to see Trump on ice at some point. Just the whole. No, well, yes, on meth as well, but on ice, just the whole administration every year, 4 years, in like an hour and a half on ice show, like Sean Spicer's there and Reince Priebus, remember him? And like, they've all got like big heads,
Too much pageantry for the pain.
Exactly. It's gotta be like a little bit like the producers, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, or I don't know. And I feel like it's very Black Mirror. Just trap them there. Maybe they have to play themselves. They're all on ice. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
We have one final story, and then we're bringing in Alexandra for our discussion. But this was the week where the MyPillow guy, tall guy with creepy mustache, did meet with the president on Friday, the final Friday of this administration. The CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, visited the president with a clipboard of notes on which said, among many different things in terms of suggestions for the president, quote, martial law if necessary. Cool. Which is apparently, right, if not, just if necessary, if your coup fails.
Yeah.
And that's essentially a QAnon conspiracy, apparently, that like Trump is going to enact martial law and like the military is going to stand with him. And also, if you needed any more verification that the president surrounds himself with QAnon conspiracy theorists, right now you can get a discount on a MyPillow by typing in the code QAnon.
No.
Yes. Although,
are you serious?
Right now was a few hours ago because I did try because I was like, let me see what's up. And it didn't work, but it was working for a while, which is super ironic because I feel like conspiracy theorists do just need a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I think now the code is WWG1WGA.
Yes.
To get that QAnon discount. That's
it is
QAnon discount.
And like, what's in the pillows? Like, when you get it, is it just like a little like music box that's like Tom Hanks touches children?
Shit. Like, yeah, maybe.
Which apparently is one of their conspiracy.
What the fuck? Is your pillow saying something to you?
Apparently, that is part of the conspiracy, is that Tom Hanks is a pedophile. And I just think it's really funny.
The inauguration.
He's what?
He's hosting the inauguration.
We're putting
that makes sense because I saw those tweets blowing up on Twitter on the right of being like, and Tom Hanks is the host. Figures. And I was like, figures what? that his son is a weird fake rude boy, fake yardie.
Oh my God, Tom Hanks' son.
Yeah, we need more Chet Hanks truthers out here.
Oh, hell yeah. But like, I just think it's funny that like, imagine hating Tom Hanks that much that you have to create a whole conspiracy theory just about him.
A lot of just
to get to him.
Yeah, Mike Lindell. I'm just so. It really is, when you distill it down to what it is. It's this former man who was smoking crack for decades and who found Christ and all these other things, was able to walk into the Oval Office with a bunch of cool ideas and talk directly with the president of the United States. Like, it shows you like that's how lame the White House has become and how like not sacred any of this shit is, because it's the same thing as like a 7-Eleven. You know, like anybody could have walked in there and been like, yo, I got ideas who I talk to. Oh, okay, a donation? Sure, I'll do that. And then can we talk about how I think we need an army of angels to protect us from the aliens? Okay.
But like literally the only person who even wants to talk to the president at this point are nut jobs like MyPillow guy.
Yeah. Pillows ain't that good anyway, from what I hear.
Really? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hear mixed reviews. Guys, sound off in the comments if you know.
Yeah, for y'all rocking the MyPillow, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. It needs to be medium actually needs to be pretty soft. Not like complete feathers, but it needs to be like,
wow. The faintest memory of support.
Yeah, there you go. Do they have a good medium up there? And what's the discount code like at this point? That was the week where, you guys, I'm going to go into your super chats real quick before we bring in Alexandra. Modem handshake noises on Twitch. I'm bitching about it not being Wednesday already. Amen. Dax Alvarez on YouTube. If these insurrectionists and Kyle the Third Reichenhaus don't get absolutely hammer fucked with their conviction, we have to redo the system. I think we'll have to redo the system, Dax. Thank you for that super chat, though. Tell me what to put on Twitch. Says Republicans deserve zero credit. Common decency shouldn't be revered as brave. Absolutely. 1459 LDN. I'm really offended by your British accents. Laughy face. I feel like you're not being honest.
Got LDN in the handle too. Okay, let them know. London in the building.
There you go. 1459. Is that from Bridgertown? Oh no, that's a little earlier. Why So Lucky on YouTube. Thanks so much for the super chat. Fran and TDZ Miles crushing it. Hell yeah. And Andrew Martin, Giuliani can't find his dick in a Borat movie. Wow. He was really trying to he was like, come on, wake up.
He was trying to activate. Yeah.
go gadget.
Not today. You need to top that up with some more credits from the store.
God. All right. We're going to get into the sitch. This is me just clapping. I clap in between. If you're listening in the future, I clap a lot. And it's a little bit like your bad dancing aunt who just claps offbeat and then it's what I'm giving off right now. We're going to get into the sitch. We're talking about progressive wins in the House, progressive wins all across the nation, and what we need to do under a Biden administration. This is the sitch. And joining us is activist and political commentator who worked on Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign before going on to found the Political Action Committee, Brand New Congress. She's a founding member and current executive director of Justice Democrats, a grassroots organization recruiting the next generation of diverse working class leaders to run for Congress. Please welcome Alexandra Rojas.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Wow, 2 days. 2 days to go, Alexandra. How are you feeling about finally being able to talk about non-Nazi issues?
I don't know, man. It's going to feel weird. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it's going to be, it's the same grind for a lot of progressives out there, right? Which is, at least for us at Justice Democrats, it's going to continue to invest in this new generation of leadership that, maybe isn't on the front pages of the news, but is clearly continuing to deliver victories like Georgia, that's getting lost in the sight of all of this. But there's a lot of, a lot of young people, especially out there, that are ready to get to work, even if our leadership isn't.
Yeah. And I know we're going to talk about the incoming Biden administration, but I do want to ask you right off the bat, because there's some news from Justice Dems this week. Given one of the appointees in the Biden administration is leaving a vacancy in Ohio, and Nina Turner is running for Congress in Ohio in the 11th district, I believe, and Justice Dems is endorsing her run. I just spilled all that news when I wanted you to. But tell me about Nina Turner's run, and tell me about this race.
Yes, I mean, it's big. This is our first endorsement of the cycle so far. Nina Turner needs no introduction to national progressives, but in terms of the connection with Justice Democrats, I'm a founding member, and thank you for of Brand New Congress and of Justice Democrats. And back when we first started this, lots of people told us that this idea of sort of running people on a slate for Congress and sort of forgetting about elections as silos and doing it by swearing off corporate money on a progressive agenda was too big of an idea, was something that we weren't going to be able to do. And it was her and Representative Ro Khanna that were one of the few former and current elected officials that actually took us seriously and mentored us, mentored our candidates. So it feels very, very right that not only now that we can go back and see after all of the work that she's done as a co-chair, obviously for Bernie Sanders and as a city councilwoman, as a state senator, but also as someone who has just been there on day one for progressives, even when it wasn't popular, whether it was for Bernie or whether it was Justice Democrats. It feels really good to be able to have her back right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure she doesn't. I mean, usually you guys do such a good job with like guiding candidates. She's someone who doesn't necessarily need that guidance. What's her run looking like right now? Is she going up against another Democrat? Because her seat was vacated by
Marcia
tell me
Fudge.
Marcia Fudge, exactly. That's right.
Yep.
So yeah, tell me about what you know about who she might be running against and about the district.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so this is, like you said, it's Ohio's 11th. Representative Marcia Fudge is going to head into the Biden administration. And there are multiple candidates in there. And right now, for folks that are watching, if you're fired up about Nina Turner, you can go to jdems.us/Nina Turner. This is an open seat, which means that it is going to be a crowded field. It's not just going to be Nina, it's going to be multiple other candidates that I'm sure aren't as some might be as progressive or at least saying it. It's really important that, especially in these open seats right now, and why we've gotten behind Nina, in addition to her being such a progressive champion, is because we've got to show strength very early. We want to be able to make sure that the progressive is the clear front runner, which with Nina, she's raised over I don't know the exact number, but it's certainly above six figures. It's over 300,000 already. She's launching with a lot of local officials and activists on the ground. And she's coming in with folks like us and other national endorsers like Justice Democrat Cori Bush, Senator Bernie Sanders. So she's off to an incredibly good start, but all of the work that we do collectively as a movement to give her volunteer energy, to give her the resources that she needs to make a strong showing, especially in the beginning, is going to be really, really crucial. So it's definitely going to be a crowded open field, but I believe that we're going to continue. She's going to continue to run a really strong campaign, especially in the beginning, and show that she's the clear front runner in this race.
Yeah, when is the actual election?
So we actually won't know quite yet until the swearing in happens. So hopefully in a couple days we'll be able to find out the exact date. But it's going to be pretty quick because it's going to our expectations, which it varies for different. New Mexico is going to open up. Louisiana is also going to open up, so it varies by state. But for this one, it's looking like it's going to be pretty quick. I think the election is going to be in March. They're guessing, with basically a big spread between now and then the seat will be up again. But we won't know the exact dates until obviously the swearing is official. So, but the race in terms of Nina being filed is official.
Yeah, it's a short runway, but she's got name recognition, which is great.
Absolutely.
Miles, I want to bring you in because we started off a little bit bitching about, Biden and knowing we're going to be disappointed, but not knowing to what degree. You were mentioning something to me about Biden, and why don't you put it to Alexandra?
Yeah. No, I mean, because I think a lot of the candidates that have come in, especially under the umbrella of the Justice Dems, have been great and are the kinds of people that personally I'm like, right, these are people who understand what liberation means and what it takes and what the dynamics are and what we're up against to sort of dismantle these things to create a much more level playing field for all people. And it's done in a way that's very conversational, very understandable, because the people are like living the experience of most American people rather than like, I'm the richest kid from my part of the state and my dad told me I should run. With all of that, because the energy is tremendous, and it's again, it directly sort of threatens the status quo. How do you as a party navigate the obvious, the way that the party's set up now tends to marginalize these office holders and even these candidates, and leaves a lot of progressives frustrated because we're like, that's what we need to do, but then Joe Biden says they're kids and they don't know. So what is like the way that, how are progressives meant to flex their influence right now? Because so many races were coming off the strength of activist candidates or people who are much more in touch with what the electorate is feeling. So how do we turn that into, the momentum we can actually use to do more than just sort of be like, we're getting steamrolled?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's critical. There are almost 400,000 Americans that are dead from one of the deadliest pandemics in our lifetime. Even before this pandemic, there were 60% of Americans that couldn't afford an $800 emergency bill. And now we have a Democratic trifecta. So if progressive means anything, it means moving forward. And so the question of how urgent and how quickly can we go, it couldn't be fast enough. So I think that is very understandable. And if we weren't feeling that angst, that sense of why aren't we doing everything in our power immediately right now to do something, that should be the position that our government takes, which is sad, unfortunately, that our elected leaders don't always take that. But I think it's also important to contextualize, outside of, what I just said there, is also that it took a lot of work to even just get Representative Cori Bush here, to get Representative Jamal Bowman, to get Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the table. And it wasn't because we just thought of electoral politics in a vacuum. It's because we merged that with social movement building and did the hard work of organizing communities that have been neglected for a really long time. And now we have to do that all over America. We have to captivate America with we already know that people love our ideas. They are excited. And now what feels like for the first time in so many years, you can actually see the fruits of the investment of thousands of progressives across the country in these incredible elected leaders that you just pointed out. The other thing that I think about all the time, sadly, is that what if we didn't have them in Congress right now, right in the middle of Nazis and fascists storming our Capitol? So the question of how we use that urgency or how we use our power now that we have it is really important. But I think it's also important to recognize that it was really hard to get here, and we're going to have to do it dozens of times over again. So we have to get comfortable with not being able to get things immediately when we want. That being said, we have unprecedented levels of power in terms of in the House to be able to actually utilize a full block. I think even in the Senate, even if we don't, we have strong progressives like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, but we also have folks like Chuck Schumer who are, trying to cozy up with progressives as much as he can in every press conference he can because he's afraid of a primary. And so the tools of being able to actually have seats in power, right, where I trust our progressive champions right now, and folks like Justice Democrats, in addition to the sort of apparatus that is starting to grow of progressives on the Hill, because that's a decades plus institution that's had a head start, is growing and is really important, which is why Cori felt like she could, on day one, launch a resolution to expel members. And Jamal Bowman, his first piece of legislation is the Coup Act to be able to investigate the Capitol Police. So in a moment of crisis, I think that's really important. And then as we move forward, obviously utilizing, that full block in the Progressive Caucus with some of the new rule changes is going to be really, really critical.
Yeah, I mean, I think just right there, what you just said, it is so surprising to me that of course that it is on some of these new freshman incoming squad members, progressives, to say things like, we should expel these insurrectionists in the Republican Party who absolutely were egging on, were potentially planning, or potentially giving tours to some of these far-right extremists, like that it's on Cori Bush to have that resolution, that it's on Jamal Bowman to be like, we have to investigate, police in the Capitol and throughout the country, that it's on AOC to be like, look, if you have a love for the Confederacy, get the fuck out of this fucking Congress. Like, what are you doing? Like, that is so insane to me. And like, imagine how this moment would feel. Just imagine how this moment would feel if it was just Nancy. if it was Nancy and Chuck going up against QAnon nut jobs and being like, I mean, it's not right. It's indecent. We've got, and it's just like the feeling of helplessness, you know, that we would have felt is just, it's just incredible. And so they are absolutely, I think, blazing this way forward. I also want to just mention
the line in so many ways. They are holding the line right now.
Yeah. And I just want to say, you know, it is a huge thing that Chuck Schumer is clearly pivoting because he's scared of AOC primarying him. And you guys did that. That was a strategy that, you know, it's always been available, but you guys did it because people have been afraid to actually confront Democrats for so long, for fear of, I'm sure you've been called divisive a lot, right? I'm sure you've been called against unity. Yeah, exactly. And I do just kind of want to ask that about, like, you know, where, what about like the very makeup of Congress itself and the ways that primarying has its limitations? Because there are districts where like it's just Republican. Like there's no way you're even going to get a foothold in there. What does Justice Dems think about that? I know you mostly focus on sort of solidly blue districts, but what is the thought been, and what is the success rate been around districts that could have gone either way or that maybe are even more red?
Yeah, well, we definitely focus on safer blue districts, but we've also gotten involved in some red to blues. And last cycle, we got involved in Nebraska second district, which we were super proud to support Kara Eastman. And we're not going to win all of them. And I think that part of the reason why we see the way that things are is because of a lack of investment and a lack of, honestly, a neglect of responsibility, I think, on the national party's part to invest in parts of our country where not many people are willing to. And, you know, there's also Texas 28 with Jessica Cisneros we ran, even though that was against, you know, a Democrat that voted over 70% of the time with Donald Trump. That was basically a red to blue. These are two parts of the country where Democrats have said, you know what, Republicans are here. We're not even going to invest. And each of those districts, there are lots of poor and working people. There are lots of Latinos that still need a champion to speak for them, especially in a country where, and I think we're going to get to this later, where we should be represented adequately at the federal level, but we're not. So I think for us, like, our posture is going to be, the only way that we're going to make a difference is if we do the hard work and invest in communities that really need it. It's not going to be everywhere that we go in some of these red to blues. So that's going to be challenging. I think, you know, in terms of tactics for progressives and the Democratic Party, it's got to be, you know, in places like Georgia, where we've seen the model. We've seen the model in Arizona with grassroots activists, with grassroots organizations on the ground that know their communities. They know how to talk to their communities. That's where we should be investing if we want to be able to see statewide, especially in the Senate, where we know that that's going to be really critical. But even in these House races, right, when we flex that muscle of organizing, I think that we're going to see some real differences. And then also, like, you know, I think investing in state legislatures, right, in addition to that year-round organizing, in some of these places where, you know, we focus on the federal level, but in some of these state legislative races, it doesn't take that much money to really flip some of these seats or to make, you know, some of these races really competitive. And there are a number of organizations that are also focused on doing just that. So I think that, and then in addition to that, I think really at the federal level, where all eyes are on us, we have to bring the fire when it comes to people like Representative Laura Bobart and other QAnon Republican members that are siding with insurrectionists or the neo-Nazis that are literally storming the Capitol. We have, as a Democratic Party, have to continue, just like Cori Bush, just like Jamal Bowman and AOC are, to really hold the line. So I think there's multiple tactics that we have to take to address that.
I was, you know, just Wikipedia Laura Bobart. Just look it up. Just opened up a restaurant encouraging waiters and waitresses to open carry.
Called Shooters?
In a place called, Shooter's Grill in Rifle, Colorado. Like, you are trash. Like, you're such trash. I don't know how these trash people in these
she was like tweeting live. No, she was tweeting live, like, where Nancy Pelosi was during the insurrection too. Like, insane.
In insane. But I want to just talk about just really quickly. Can you reflect on the loss? You have had more losses than wins.
Yeah.
And yet, what do you learn and what do you gain by those losses? And what do you say to people who are like, you can't even, whatever, fuck it, fuck electoral politics, or fuck electoral politics? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I don't mean to be cheesy, but I think that failure is a necessary part of success, because otherwise you wouldn't appreciate when you win. And I think that each opportunity that we do lose is an opportunity for us to learn from our mistakes, understand how we could have done better so that we don't do it again. And I think we've proved that. We lost dozens of races in 2018. We shortened the number. We invested in a smaller amount, really shortened the number of places that we were going to get involved, and we got more victories out of that, and we're going to continue to do that. But also, I think that this is a movement, right? And our strategy is not just electoral. A huge part of it is, but you got to merge it with social movement building and the idea of, in every time we engage in these races, every race that we get into, it's because this is a community, this is a part of our country that needs investment. Not only do we have a good opportunity to be there, so no matter what, in Texas 28 now, in a place like Laredo, Texas, where there was very little progressive infrastructure, there are dozens of young Latinas that are excited and ready and actually see a possibility of being engaged in their political system. You go to Nebraska, the same thing. You go to Ohio, all of the places, Massachusetts, all of the places that we've been to. And that kind of work matters. And I think if we had that mentality as a party, we would see a lot of the fruits of our labor bear out, in the long term, not just if we get into this, win-lose binary.
Absolutely. I wanted to just gauge your thoughts, because before this insurrection, before the clown coup, I felt much more comfortable about talking about like lessons from 2020 Democratic losses and like really focusing on like where did they lose and where did they win, because progressives now make up a bigger percentage of Democrats, but Democrats make up a smaller percentage of the House. And there's just so much hand wringing over like, was it the DCCC? Was it the centrists? Was it defund the police that scared so many people away? That's the centrist line. And then, or was it that they weren't speaking to the people? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that in terms of like, or do you feel like it's not either or, there's no real one line on the postmortem of why Democrats lost House seats?
Yeah, I don't think it's a one-liner. I think it's very complicated, but I complicated not, but I will say it definitely wasn't as simple as a slogan that's been around for a very long time, or socialism, or attacks that we can anticipate coming because they have been repeated multiple times. And I don't think it had nothing to do with the fact that we are, in a lot of parts of our country, and nationally, wages have been stagnating for over 40 years. We've never seen income inequality at such a gross level. We've never seen this much money spent in our elections, and the lack of results coming from our elected officials in Congress. And I think all of that, and the appearance of the Democratic Party, and we wrote a memo on this, from a lot of the leadership, from the folks that didn't do so well in their seats or barely made it, that they didn't talk about the economy, and they weren't able to make the connection or talk about race in a nuanced way, to actually to get through the sort of dog whistle politics that the other side has been pulling. And I think all of those things really matter. So I don't think it was necessarily one thing. I think it was a lack of investment on the national party's part for decades. I think it was the failure of leadership, not just the Democratic Party, but our elected officials across the country, for unfortunately getting to a place where when we do have a pandemic, we're not ready to have the most unpopular president and ever, the most corrupt president ever. There's a number of things that led us here, but it definitely wasn't a slogan, and it definitely wasn't, not, we need to anticipate when these attacks are coming, which is why investment in places to show that you care about people. And I think this cycle, as we look to 2022 and 2024, it's got to be about actually delivering and not wasting an opportunity like we did last time when we had a Dem trifecta, and actually showing results for Americans. We could start with the pandemic, but it's got to be also seizing this opportunity that we haven't had in a long time to really transform our economy and our society to work for everybody.
I'm sorry, Miles, I'm jumping in, where do you see the most leverage when it comes to making some of those bold policy changes? I think, to me, I'm just going to give you my thoughts on, I think a pathway to citizenship for 11 million undocumented people without a language of, but we're going to secure the border even more, which is the Democratic line and has been for so many decades. And the fact that Biden is not doing that is huge. Like, that is a radical break. It's not a radical idea. It's a radical break from where Democrats were even 4 years ago, just like falling over themselves to be like, well, we're going to have snipers and there'll be dogs. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Where are some of those sort of openings where you're like, this is the lane. This is the thing that can deliver.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it's really important. There's going to be those types of conversations, I think, where it's like, what can we get? And then there's also like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And I think that especially for the progressives in the House right now, like I don't know if you guys have been seeing this $2,000 check conversation and how important it is that we're really applying pressure on leadership to actually do what was promised. So I think that's first and foremost actually getting money and expanding the social safety net also as we do these measures, and in the short term is going to be really critical. And then in the medium to long term, I think there are real barriers, like in the Senate. I know that Biden is against this, but he's going to have to deal with the filibuster at some point, and democracy reform. I know that there's been some bills that were passed in the House that seem, in terms of the rest of the agenda, that we have to actually get implemented that are going to be really important. I think the pathway to citizenship is huge. I think doing something around health, there's so many things that seem. $15 minimum wage is actually going to be, even though it's coming a little too late, is actually going to happen. But I think in the short term, it's what can we do to expand the social safety net, especially in the middle of the pandemic. And Bernie has been talking about a special healthcare program just for the pandemic. And I think there are parts of where we do this where it paves the path to Medicare for all, so that when it actually is an opportunity where we can take it to a floor vote, we might have a better chance at passing it. But after we kind of show right in the middle of a pandemic what it means when you do have some sort of universal health care, I think will be really key in continuing to keep it high in public opinion, and also demonstrate that this is a policy that actually works. And I think that one could actually save millions of lives.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mom.
I'm just curious, like, when talking about, just district flipping or any kind of red to blue program at the moment, it sounds like red to what? How do you even begin a conversation? I mean, like, years ago it was more like, okay, well, we've identified this group of people who don't vote. If we turn them out, that's how we'll get to our 50% plus one. But I'm curious now, in looking at all of the various landscapes, understanding that, social movement building is, really trying to get as many people in touch with, how they can better their lives. I'm curious in a district, that you even have eyes on to try and turn blue, what that candidate would look like, what that messaging looks like. I mean, obviously the things that are being said by progressives feels like it's not very controversial if you just say, I feel everyone should have food and health insurance and an education. Oh, whoa, you're calling me a what now? How does that, what's that sort of, what's your perspective, running an organization like this and looking at, okay, how do we enter these districts?
Yeah. Well, first, I think I saw someone in the comments. Anyone right now that's listening or watching, you can go to justicedemocrats.com/nominate to nominate anyone in your local community. The way that we find candidates, regardless of district, is sort of art and science. The art part, and just like AOC was nominated by her brother, Jessica Cisneros, who it was a candidate that we ran the cycle out in Texas 28, was nominated by her local high school teacher, because we took out an ad. Anybody, send them through the nomination form. But that's twofold, right? I think there's one, like in some of those districts, there are just going to be, and there are, I believe, thousands of AOCs, Jamal Bowman's, Cori Bush's, people that exist in every district in America. We just don't know them yet, and we haven't invested in them yet. And I think that maybe not everybody is for the federal level, but there are, and I'm going to just talk about the federal level specifically because that's where some of these red to blues where we're investing in. I think that's one thing, and I think a candidate that speaks to their community and is really hard to find, but it's also, once you find that and you're able to find someone that can really connect on a real level, not just policy, but be able to talk about it in a way where their community is going to trust them and believe what they have to say, right? Especially when you see Washington totally not working for you makes such a huge difference. I think swearing off corporate money to show that your community, that you're actually going.
That Trump did. Trump talked about fucking giving everybody health care, and I fund my own campaign, right? Like, it's amazing to me that those two things, funding your own campaign and like expanding the social safety net, actually is very attractive. Of course, he's full of lies, and of course, that was utter BS, but like, even just naming those issues, I think, is really important. And like, people aren't as allergic to them, I think, as a lot of, it's basically corporations are allergic to them. And those are the ones who are paying for your campaigns often.
It's almost like because we've become it's like the hyper partisan era that we're in. So many people have actually quite literally lost sight of what their own needs are, because it's almost that, like what you're talking about is like the way to talk to folks is to just, meet them where they're at. And a lot of the times the language doesn't have anything to do with politics, or more than being like, hi, I'm here and I say I care about you. And something like that's very disarming. It's like, but I'm on this team and used to not wanting help, but I do. How do we, it's just interesting to see how almost like the real art of it is that you're just speaking out completely like depoliticized language and going straight to people's humanity. And like, that's the winning formula.
And there's an opening right now to grab the moral. This is what I've been saying, is like to grab the moral, high ground right now when the other party has been completely debased. Just like, bye, family values, bye. Oh, even like religiosity or Christianity, bye. You represent none of that. So like, there is such a space for Democrats to actually grab that language.
And there's such an opportunity too that I think, Trump is a total fascist. He is the most corrupt president of our time. But there's one, I remember when he was running one of the first times, he stood behind, or when he ran the first time, he stood behind or in front of a trash factory in Pennsylvania. And he told that crowd that we're going to rebuild this factory. We're going to rebuild. We're going to bring all of that. Obviously, he was lying through his teeth. But right now, Democrats have a trifecta in the House. We have the opportunity, especially to tackle the pandemic, to tackle the existential threat of climate change, to tackle rising income inequality, to transform our economy and our society by investing in the American people and by investing in making sure that we actually do make things here in America, that we actually do create millions of high wage, good paying jobs, that we actually do it by making sure that we lift everybody up and not cut anybody out. That's what Democrats have the opportunity to do, and take that message to every single part of the country. And Joe Biden has the responsibility and the opportunity right now to show that if he even did half of his Build Back Better plan, that we could show those parts of the country that he actually meant it when he said it, when he said it versus when Donald Trump says it. So I think not only do we have the moral argument, do we have the civil, all of the many social movements at our and the shoulders that we stand on, but we also have the opportunity to transform our society into the true 21st century economy and society that I feel like the world is waiting for America to be. And I wish that more politicians were ready for that urgency and for that level of commitment to seeing where America could be. And I know that Corey and Jamal and AOC are ready.
We can prop up Joe Biden as just, weekend at Bernie Sanders ideas, and just make him an actual, FDR if he actually wants to be.
Oh, we got to push him. It's going to take a lot.
Thank you so much, Alexandra Rojas, Director of Justice Dems. Please go to their website. Alexandra, that is again?
www.justicedemocrats.com. And thanks so much for having me.
Oh, please come back anytime if you want to sound off. I could just listen to you and like actually sleep better at night, knowing that you're doing this work. And
put the black pill away for now.
Yeah, let's save that. Put the cyanide away. Take good care, Alexandra. Be well. Stay safe. And Miles, you're sticking with me.
Okay, fine. Got nowhere else to go.
One more segment, because once again, this is the last episode before Trump is maybe out or launches a nuke at Iran and starts World War III.
Don't stop. That's the one thing I'm like, what's going on? I remember at the beginning of the year, they started doing little pretext for fuckery type things with Iran. I was like, please, just
pretext for fuckery.
Yeah, because they love that shit. Remember when
they love
Nikki
it.
Haley had all that slideshow she busted out, and she's like, look at this chunk of missile. I mean, I think we should war. No, okay, fine. God, bunch of prudes.
Oh God. But we have to get our last. I mean, it's not our last licks because unfortunately, nothing is good. Everything's awful, and this man is going to live rent free in our minds for the rest of our lives, sadly. But I do want to know what's going on in the White House right now as this changing of the guards is underway. So this is our final segment, the de-Trumping of the White House. So fill in the blank, Miles, and everybody listening. After Trump, the White House will never be the same. The staff will have to blank. I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think after Trump, the White House will never be the same. The staff will have to finally kick out that adult film crew that was using the Lincoln bedroom at $1,000 an hour.
Oof. Yeah.
Just like...
But the sets, I look, I'm not gonna lie, in the comments, I was like, that ain't the White House. Turns out it was. Joke's on me.
Wait, the Lincoln, oh yeah. You're like, it actually was the White House.
Lincoln bio, Lincoln bedroom.
So many stains. After Trump, the White House will never be the same. The staff will have to, my second one is replace all the paintings that the Trump team has like strategically cut holes in the eyes of so they could just stand behind and stare at the incoming administration. Like, Stephen Miller is behind one of them, just like, do.
Right. Oh, God.
Straight cartooning that shit.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Goebbels himself.
That's such a good name. What do you think the staff is going to have to do, Miles, upon exiting?
First one is actually, the thing that they're going to have to do is turn it into an old Halloween store because that building ain't shit anymore. That's just be a big old Halloween super center, like every old bank ends up being in your city near you. I feel like that's the first thing. It's like, you know what? We don't have to do this anymore. Just treat it for what it is. It's a thing that used to be cool. The other thing I would say is that everyone in the White House now, not just to de-Trumpify the White House, but just to move forward as a country.
Sure.
If you work in the administration, you have to trip on psychedelics quarterly. Or semi-annually.
Oh, you're just instituting new rules. This is like emoluments clause.
Yes.
To become an amendment and everyone should trip.
The trip amendment. Yes. Everybody got a trip because there's a level, our country has gone this far because no one's really looking inward or self-reflecting a lot of the time. A lot of times like, I don't know, like Nancy Pelosi's like, my refrigerator's $40,000. Is that weird? I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Nancy Pelosi high and looking at her refrigerator is like, I don't need this.
Right. Because I'm thinking, the power of a good trip can really, you will check yourself. I remember being a 17-year-old boy tripping on mushrooms and being like, am I burdening my single mother with my like out of bounds behavior? And then like really looking at myself. You know what I mean? So I feel like if these people in office even had that moment, oh my, they'd be like, did I completely go back on everything I said I would be when I was in college trying to be fighting for people? And then
Did I peak at age 12 when I was called a pinche gringo
right.
in school?
Am I regularly throating the boot? Huh. Oh no.
Dude, Miles, first of all, I've talked about, like, I haven't done psychedelics in a while, but I totally agree with you. I've talked about a little bit of shrooms really helping, it just gaining basic empathy. But then people are like, yeah, but look at like Silicon Valley and like Elon Musk and like Joe Rogan. Like those fools trip, but like they don't have empathy. So I'm not really sure.
And those guys, I remember that microdosing craze began in like 2013, 14. A lot of it was to be like, they're coming up with ideas by microdose. There's never like, how am I going to treat the world or myself better? It's like, how can I put some turbo fuel on my imagination to create more things to sell? And then I think other people that over the years, we found all kinds of wonderful, therapeutic remedies and ways to use psychedelics, especially for like, severe conditions. And so look, and even greed and being in office for decades, a trip might do you good, Chuck Schumer.
I totally agree. Some comments. Thank you for these. Burn all the furniture. Use lots of sanitizer. Disinfect the whole place. Get rid of the tacky drapes in the Oval Office. Check for bugs. Fumigate for Goya bean farts. Ooh. Solid. So many Goya bean farts. I do think that you need to probably scrub out the stain in the corner. I think they call it the wee corner, where Trump, it's like between the bed and the bathroom, where Trump, like in the middle of the night, he couldn't get to the bathroom, and there's just a little puddle.
Yeah.
But maybe
they have to pretend there was a toilet there. Like, oh no, Mr. President, you did it right in that right spot. We're just installing this toilet over this carpet. Yeah. You know what?
That could be where the dog goes. The rescue dog could have the wee corner.
They're gonna have to cut the floorboards out and everything. I'm sorry, but I'm always it's down to the boards, y'all. If I was there for that job, I would slam them with the fees. I'm like, you got mold in here, honestly. So it's everywhere. Right.
They're gonna have to make friends with Epstein's ghosts. This is what I think, because Epstein is haunting the fuck out of the White House at this point. Oh, yeah. And you just have to make friends with him. You just have to figure out his routines, his schedules, when he wants to flicker the lights,
Can you
when he wants to talk about the old days.
What? Oh yeah, that's just Jeffrey Epstein's ghost. Like you're working trying to explain to a visitor. Oh no, don't worry. That's just Epstein's ghost. Jeffrey Epstein, the predator who has connections to numerous administrations. Anyway, his ghost haunts the West Wing. Sorry. Anyway, you were saying about the child tax credit.
You were saying Angela, yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Go on. Absolutely. I love this. I'm going to read a couple comments. Thank you so much for everyone's comments and super chats. Fun Police on YouTube. Progressives need more allies like these. I think we're talking about Alexandra, not Miles. Thomas, just kidding. Thomas, Oklahoma. Nina Turner will declare herself the new mama bear of the squad. Of course she will. I love that.
Yeah.
Name withheld on YouTube. Bernie becoming budget chairman is a huge win. And yes, I haven't mentioned that at all, but that is really big. And especially when it comes to things like war making and the fact that Bernie has been on the side of things like, stopping funding the war in Yemen, stopping all of our ties to Saudi Arabia. And it took this president. I don't believe in accelerationism or like that Trump actually was secretly good, but it really did take someone so fucking out there for the rest of Congress to be like, oh, hey, maybe we shouldn't keep funding murderers in the Middle East, right. Let's not cozy up to Saudi Arabia that much. Like, let's not reward them with weapons when they kill a journalist.
Right.
We'll
let our companies do business there for that really sick new business park Mohammed bin Salman is building. Did you see that TED talk he did last week? No. Like this whole business thing, because the UAE has a lot more foreign investment in it. And he's like, y'all, just because I straight murdered that guy, y'all act like you don't want to invest here, please. I got credits too. And please don't be put off by everything you've read.
There's a tax haven inside of the tax haven inside of the tax haven. It's like Russian dolls of tax havens.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see that. I want to know. Miles Gray of the Daily Zeitgeist, thank you so much for joining me on the Bitchuation Room. You've been so wonderful.
Everybody. Thanks for having me. I mean, heavyweight episode. We have people who are actually getting butts in the seats over here, and I'm all here hawking, mattresses and shit and food boxes. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's I was honored that you would invite me.
Please. Oh, please. Obviously, everybody should be listening to the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't, it's such a good show. And follow Miles Gray at Miles of Gray on Twitter. And take very good care, Miles. Come back anytime.
I will. Yeah, thank you so much. And everybody, please take care of yourself. Self-care, very important. A lot of the time, I only realized this year I was not doing it right the whole time. I was like, I thought just smoking weed was self-care. It's like, no, you have to really take care of yourself and nurture yourself. Don't let those thoughts consume you, y'all.
I am 2 days off of alcohol, and I'm like, I cannot. It's so delicious. All right, Miles, be well, man. Take good care later. And thank you to everyone for being here. Remember, you can tip this show. TBR-live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. All your tips are super appreciated. They help this show be sustainable. But you know what does an even better job of that? Becoming a patron at patreon.com/bituationroom. Again, until I get the big bucks from the big donors, and I'm working harder to be a corporate shill. I rely on you all to make the show sustainable, and your money helps our little team, and it helps the team of producers like Becca Roofer. There's really only one producer. That's Becca Roofer, and she's wonderful. So thank you so much to her, and thank you to Kelly Carey and Dorsey Shaw on the other side of YouTube, working hard to get you these salty, succinct clips. That's a thing. And thank you for the super chats. Dave Kayo, Dax Alvarez, Birthscape One, Wall Street Tech, Why So Lucky, Name Withheld, and Julia West. If I didn't read all of your chats, my bad. But join us next week, every Sunday, 6-9 Eastern, here on YouTube and Twitch. And remember, this is the fucking last week. It's the fucking last 48 hours. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I hope there's not another failed coup. I hope Q does not cast his evil queef spells all over this land, because as of now, this is what is going on outside of the White House.
As the Trump administration enters its final stage, the first sign of the end of a presidency, a moving van outside the West Wing. Stacks of moving boxes were being delivered to the Eisenhower Executive Office building. The office will be undergoing a deep cleaning just before President-elect Biden moves in.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, bye, bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Remember, everybody, don't just bitch about it, be about it. Fuck the patriarchy, fight the power, and bye-bye, Trump.